After 12 years together, I found out he was living a double life with another family. When I confronted him, he said, "They give me peace. You give me pressure." I sat silent and said, "Peace is about to get expensive." A week later, the other woman showed up at my door because my name is Mallory. I'm 39 and live in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I was with Darren for 12 years. 12 solid years of my life. No marriage certificate, but we lived like we were married. Mortgage together. 2 dogs. A shared bank account. We hosted Thanksgivings. I took care of his mom when she had hip surgery. I helped him when he got laid off and stayed loyal when he had nothing. He wasn't perfect, but I thought he was mine. I thought I was his. Turns out, I was the side project. The cracks start to show. It didn't happen overnight. That's what kills me. It was little things. Easy to explain away until they added up. He started staying late at work. His job's hours were always flexible, but suddenly, he was slammed. Every night. Then came the weekends. Gotta go in for a few hours. I didn't question him at first. I trusted him. But he started coming home looking different. Happy, relaxed, but cold around me. He'd smile at the dogs but barely speak to me. Then he bought new cologne. Expensive stuff. I asked him when he started caring about smells again. He said, "Just felt like changing it up." He stopped leaving his phone on the kitchen counter. Started keeping it in his pocket. Even in the bathroom. I once caught him smiling while texting. When I asked who it was, he shrugged and said it was a coworker. Didn't say which one. The final straw? I got a credit card alert. He made a purchase at a children's boutique. We don't have kids. I asked him about it, and he said it was for his niece. He doesn't have a niece. I followed him. I waited for a night when I knew I could get answers. Told him I had a night shift at the pharmacy. I'm a pharmacy tech. He kissed my cheek on the way out like everything was normal. Like he wasn't hiding something right behind that kiss. I drove to his office and parked where he couldn't see me. At 6:22 p.m., he came out. He was smiling. He wasn't alone. There was a woman next to him. Younger than me. Pretty. Her hair was in a braid. She looked familiar. Then I remembered. She was in one of the photos on his phone once, said she was someone from work. They were holding hands. Then a little boy ran up to them. Darren picked him up like it was second nature. Like he had done it 100 times before. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. They got into a silver Mazda and drove off. I followed. They pulled into a neighborhood about 20 minutes from ours. Darren used the garage remote. Like he lived there. I stayed parked across the street and watched them walk inside. That night I didn't sleep. I didn't cry. I just stared at the ceiling. It was like I'd been living with a ghost. I confront him the next day. I made dinner like nothing happened. Pasta. Garlic bread. Wine. He came home late. Said traffic was bad. He sat down, started eating like it was any other day. I watched him chew. Then I asked, "How's your other family?" His fork froze halfway up. "What?" "You heard me." He didn't say anything for a while. Then he sighed. Like I was the one ruining his night. He said it so calm, so dead in the eyes. "They give me peace. You give me pressure." That line burned into my brain. I just nodded. Then I said, "Peace is about to get expensive." And I stood up and left the room. He left the next morning. Said he needed time to think. He thought I'd wait. Thought I'd cry and beg him to come back. But I was too busy finding out how deep his lies went. What I found first thing I did was check our joint account. That's when I saw it. For the last 3 years, money had been disappearing. Thousands of dollars listed as vague payments. Transfers to another bank. School fees, supplies, family expenses. Over $47,000 gone. That money paid for the kids' preschool, her rent, trips I never knew he took. He had been using our life to pay for theirs. I went through his emails. Found photos. Receipts. Hotel bookings under a fake email with his middle name. He was never on work trips. He was playing house somewhere else. She comes to me a week after he left. She showed up. Her name was Jenna.
I didn't know what she looked like up close until then.
She had dark circles under her eyes.
No makeup.
She looked wrecked. Her kid was in the back seat, watching a tablet. I opened the door and just stood there. She said, "Are you Mallory?" "Yes." I think we need to talk. About Darren." I stepped aside and said, "Come in." We sat in my living room. She was shaking. She told me he said we were separated, that we lived together for financial reasons, that I was dating someone else. I didn't even flinch. I handed her a stack of papers I printed, bank statements, screenshots, email printouts, a full list of the lies. She flipped through it. She stopped at the Disney receipt. "I didn't even ask him to go," she said. "He planned it." I told her I had no idea he was engaged. Her eyes snapped to mine. "What? He proposed to you, right?" Her hand dropped the papers. "Last month." We sat in silence for a long time. Then I asked her something I never thought I'd say. "Do you want to ruin him?" She looked at me.
No hesitaste.
Yes. Planning the payback, I already had most of the proof. I just needed her side. And boy, did she deliver. She sent me photos, messages, emails, even a copy of the engagement ring receipt he emailed to her in case it got lost. It was paid using one of our credit cards. Together, we built a folder that could have destroyed him 10 times over. We didn't go to the police yet. That wasn't the plan. We wanted him to feel it.
Slowly.
First, we filed for fraud and identity theft on the joint accounts. I locked everything down, froze the credit, flagged all the withdrawals as unauthorized. Jenna backed it up by reporting him for financial abuse. Then, we went to his work. Jenna sent screenshots of him taking sick days while he was actually on vacations, with dates, photos, and a fake doctor's note he emailed her once. They fired him within 48 hours. He'd worked there 11 years. Next, I contacted his mom, the one I took care of, the one he never visited anymore. I told her everything, sent her the proof. She cut him off the next day. And then we waited. 3 days after he got fired, Darren showed up at my house. He didn't knock, just stood on the porch, pale, sweating, eyes wild like he hadn't slept. He still had that expensive jacket he used to brag about. It looked like it hadn't been washed in weeks. I didn't open the door right away. I watched him through the peephole. Then I cracked it open just enough so he could see my face. "You destroyed my life," he said. I laughed. Right in his face. "No," I said. "You destroyed your own life." I just pulled the curtain back. He tried to push the door open, but I slammed it shut and locked it. He started banging, yelling. That's when I called the cops. He was gone by the time they came, but I filed a report, got a restraining order. And then Jenna did the same. The twist we didn't see coming, I thought that was it. That we'd made our point. But one morning, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. "Hi, is this Mallory Richards?"
"Yes."
"This is Detective Palmer with the Forsyth County Sheriff's Department. We'd like to ask you a few questions about Darren Bishop." My stomach dropped. "Why?" "There's been a complaint filed. Financial misconduct, possible insurance fraud. Your name came up. Turns out, Darren had been using my name, my social security number, to open a life insurance policy. One for me, worth $500,000. And he listed himself as the sole beneficiary. It was filed 5 years ago. I had no idea. And it wasn't just one policy. There were 2, both active. A bigger problem, Jenna, and I met up the next day. I told her what the detective said. She broke down. "I found a box," she said, whispering. "In the closet. A burner phone. He used it to text someone named Trent." "Who's Trent?" I asked. "I don't know, but the texts were about money, about needing clean insurance papers." We handed everything over to the detective. That's when things shifted. The investigation moved fast. The fraud wasn't just against me. Jenna had a policy too, another one she didn't know about. They opened a full criminal case. Identity theft, insurance fraud, bank fraud. But that wasn't the worst part. The detective called me again 2 weeks later. We have reason to believe Mr. Bishop was planning to fake a medical emergency, maybe even a death.
A death.
I said.
Yes.
The policies were too high. The timing is suspicious. His job loss, your confrontation, it pushed something. The threat becomes real one night. My car alarm went off. I ran outside. Driver's side window, shattered. Glove box ripped open. Nothing taken, just torn apart. The next night, Jenna's tires were slashed. 3 of them. We both filed reports. Cops started patrolling our neighborhoods. But Darren was never caught near the scenes. It didn't matter. We knew it was him. That's when Jenna told me she was leaving town. For good. Her parents lived near Raleigh. She wanted to disappear with her son. I understood. But I wasn't running. One last move, I started seeing someone. A lawyer. A friend of my cousin's. He looked over everything and helped me file a civil suit for fraud, identity theft, and damages. We served Darren the papers at his brother's trailer. That's where he'd been hiding out. He called me that night. He didn't yell. He begged. He cried over the phone. Mallory, please. I lost everything.
My job. My family.
I sleep in a damn car.
Please.
You said I gave you pressure, I said. Now you've got freedom. Enjoy it. Then I hung up. After I hung up on Darren that night, I thought maybe, just maybe, that was the last time I'd ever hear from him. I was wrong. A few days later, my lawyer called me. Mallory, you need to come in.
Now.
I drove to his office, thinking maybe there was a delay in the court filing. Instead, he slid a thick folder across the table. Inside were documents Darren had submitted in his defense for the civil suit. Among them was a sworn statement saying I had given him permission to open those accounts, that I helped him set up the insurance policies, that I knew about the second family and accepted it in exchange for financial support. He was painting me as a willing accomplice. And the signature on the forms? Forged. My name. My handwriting. My signature. But I had never touched those papers. The fraud runs deeper, my lawyer said. We need to bring this to the detective. If he's forging signatures now, this could turn criminal, fast. So, I handed the new documents over to the police. 2 days later, I got a call. Detective Palmer again. We got a break. What kind of break? We pulled security footage from a notary office listed on the insurance documents. Turns out, Darren brought someone with him. He emailed me a screenshot from the footage. And I froze. It was Jenna. She was standing next to him, smiling, holding his arm. The betrayal I never saw coming. I called her. Right away. No answer. I called again. Straight to voicemail. I didn't sleep that night. The next morning, I drove to the address she gave me in Raleigh. The house was empty. Windows dark. Mail overflowing. I called the real estate agent listed on the sign in the yard. Sorry, she said. That house hasn't been rented in over 2 months. My stomach dropped. Jenna never moved to Raleigh. She never planned to. She was in on it. Piecing it together, I went back through every file, every message. Started noticing small things. The receipt she gave me? All things I could have found on my own computer if I looked harder. The emails? Some weren't forwarded. They were screenshots. Easy to fake. The day we filed the fraud reports, she made me do it first, said hers would come later. I had trusted her because she seemed just as betrayed. But now it made sense. She and Darren weren't over. They never were. They set me up. He let her find me on purpose. They worked me from both sides. Used my anger, my hurt, got me to expose everything. Got me to launch the legal side so she could disappear, and he could make me look like I was part of it. They used my revenge to cover their tracks. But they didn't expect what I'd do next. I drove straight to Detective Palmer's office. Threw everything on the table. I want her charged too. He looked at the new evidence. Took it seriously. I think you've just turned this into a full-blown conspiracy case. They issued a warrant for Jenna's arrest. Nationwide. Darren's bail was denied the following week. The judge called him a flight risk and a manipulative individual with no regard for truth or law.
And Jenna? She ran.
But I had one more move left. Jenna disappeared off the grid, but I didn't let it go. The detectives put out a national warrant, but there was no movement for weeks. Meanwhile, Darren was rotting in county jail. No job, no money, no visitors. His mother wouldn't talk to him. His brother kicked him out of the trailer. Even his lawyer gave up on him when he tried to get out of the lawsuit by blaming emotional distress. But that wasn't enough for me. I needed it to end. Really end. Then something unexpected happened. One morning, I got a call from a woman named Aileen. She worked at a hospital in Atlanta. She was part of the billing department. She said, "You don't know me, but someone used your name and insurance information during a recent ER visit." My stomach dropped. What name? Mallory Richards. Your DOB, too. But the photo ID didn't match. They had a copy of it. She emailed it to me. It was Jenna. She was using my identity. She'd taken the information from those bank papers from my file from the accounts she had access to when we were working together. She'd created a fake ID, pretending to be me. That was her mistake. Now it crossed into federal territory. The arrest the moment the hospital called it in, U.S. Marshals got involved. Identity theft across state lines. Medical fraud. She was picked up 3 days later in a motel just outside Savannah, Georgia. When they brought her in, she cried. Said she was manipulated by Darren. That she didn't know what he was doing. That she just went along with it.
But the cops didn't buy it.
Neither did I. The evidence was solid. She knew exactly what she was doing. Darren was officially charged with conspiracy, multiple counts of fraud, and identity theft.
So was Jenna.
Their bail was denied again. The trial, it took months, but the trial was the most satisfying thing I've ever sat through. I took the stand. Told everything. From the moment I saw Darren holding hands with Jenna, to the night he told me I gave him pressure. They tried to twist the story, of course. Said I plotted revenge and caused emotional harm. But the jury didn't care. There were too many lies. Too much money stolen. Too many forged papers. Even Jenna's tearful apology didn't land. In the end, Darren was sentenced to 16 years in prison. No parole for at least 10. Jenna got 9 years.
Plus restitution.
The court ordered both of them to pay me back $124,000 total in damages, legal fees, and lost wages from all the time I had to take off work. I'll probably never see all of it, but that's fine. Every paycheck Darren earns in prison now goes straight into an account in my name, pennies at a time. Jenna's wages will be garnished for the next 25 years once she's out. She'll never be able to buy a house, never take out a real loan again. She'll be flagged in every system. I sold the house Darren and I shared. Got rid of everything that reminded me of him. I used part of the court settlement to open my own pharmacy consulting service. Small start, but mine. A few weeks ago, I got a letter in the mail. It was from Darren. Handwritten. Said he found God. That he's sorry. That he prays for me now. That he's grateful I showed him who he really was. I didn't respond. I framed that letter. Put it in my hallway right outside my office door. Not because I forgive him, but because it reminds me of one thing. Peace doesn't come from letting things go. Sometimes, peace comes from watching them burn and knowing you lit the first match.